Welcome back to Sew Like a Pro. Sorry about that. Welcome back to Sew Like a Pro. I extracted my patterns, cut out, separate all my pieces. Because my fabric is 60 inches wide, I'm able to take my fabric and fold it in half and then fold it in half again and just cut both of them out at the same time. That's what I like to do. That way I know for sure that both of them are lining up exactly the same. And I like to take my fabric and rip it on grain. That way I know it's straight. Unless the fabric is woven off grain, then, you know, that's a problem. But if it's a nice fabric, usually it's woven and you line up all the pieces right on top of each other, you rip it, you don't have to worry about it being crooked, because you know people will cut your stuff all crooked and jacked up and you lose interest and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, I'm getting ready to cut out my sleeve and move this later on, and I'll cut out 2 cuffs and move that later on, and then I'll get my second ruffle. So make sure you rip it, make sure you lay it out on grain, check it, go back and check it and make sure that everything is measuring up your hip plus ease. You can always take it in and make it smaller, and then if you want to taper this at the bottom, you can taper that up to your hip. You'd have to measure from your shoulder down to your hip line and draw a square across. And then you can taper this, but you're going to have to put a split in it, else you won't be able to walk unless it is really short. Alright? So we do classy and not trashy. Anyway, so we're going to go ahead and cut all the pieces out, and I'll meet you over on the other side again when we sew it together. Good morning and welcome back to Sew Like a Pro. We're working on this shift dress, and what I did was I serged with 3 threads to finish all my seams on the entire dress. So really this video is in reverse. I showed you how to draft the pattern, and now I'm going to show you how to sew the dress. You'll know what the dress looks like when it's finished. And I forgot to tell you that we're going to square from the center, front, center, back, that intersection, and measure down 1.5 inches to get the neck opening, and then we went over 4 inches. And you want to check and make sure you can get your head through the dress, because it don't unzip or unbutton or any of those things. Of course you can add that to it if you like. So now I use the serger stitch as my guide for hemming. This is the ruffle on my sleeve. So I already started that. So I just used that stitch. I used to do a basting stitch, and of course you want to use thread to match. Now, if you go to the store and you can't find your serger thread to match, or you don't want to buy 4 threads of a color you know you're not hardly ever going to use, then just take the thread itself and fill it up on 4 bobbins or 3 bobbins, and then put it on the serger and serge and finish your seams. Because we always want the thread to match, even though you're not going to see this thread, you know, but you can see like little hints of it along the edge there, right? But I did this for the video purposes. And this fabric, this 7th Avenue, which I told you I bought at Fishman Fabrics, and they'll give you a discount if you go in there and mention my name, Jackie from Sew Like a Pro. It has like a little crepe kind of finish on the right side, a little texture. So this, I just want to continue to sew it all the way to this edge, because I was figuring out, you know, how I'm going to finish it. So we're going to finish this all the way to the edge, and then we're going to back stitch. Last week, you all, it was -50 in Chicago when I was filming the first part of the video. Oh my gosh, it was cold. So this, and then I'm going to take my sleeve. Thank God it's normal temperature today. Oh my goodness. Let's do 2 rows of basting stitches, because if you remember, I left 2 inches in the top of this. Look, I want to take this and fold it in half, line it up, do a little snip in the center so I know exactly where the center of my sleeve is. I already have it on my sleeve. I want to match those two up together. This way you know you're not stretching one thing further than the other and you wonder why you got a pucker on this end and that end don't match. Always get yourself some notches. So I'm going to take these two and line them up on top of each other. I'm going to do one roll a quarter and I'm going to do another roll at a little less than a half so I can ease this sleeve into that armhole. After, I'm only going to do this one because I need you to do two. So they match up perfect. Make sure you check in and make sure that they line up right on top of each other. Then, after you do your 2 rows of basting stitches, then you want to take and line these two up together, match and line everything up, and sew your regular seam allowance. Then here at the bottom of the hem of my sleeve, you want to make sure you line those two up together and put a notch right in the center of those for matching purposes. Now, once you gather this together, more than likely, you're going to lose that. It's going to be hard to see that notch. So I'm going to put a pin right there so I can make sure I know where that center notch is at. So then I have this one together. And I press the seam open. Now, how to gather all of this into that tiny cuff. Here's the cuff. Let me show you how I did my cuff. I took my cuff. Remember, it's the width of your hand. With your hand wide open so you can make sure you can get that hand through there. And then we'll add whatever seam allowance you prefer. Now I want to sew these two together. Always back stitch. You don't want stuff coming loose. This is that long basting stitch, but crank that back. Then I want to take it and open it up. While it's folded in half, get my notches. That was that long basting stitch. Look, I'll need a better stitch than that. I'll be thinking I'm looking cute and then my sleeve be busting loose on my cuff. I got a hole in it. I'm like, look at that dress falling apart. So, take these two and open them up. And then take it and fold them up together. Move this over to the side and then stitch it together again. This way, that seam is not going to shift or move anywhere because they are locked together. I'll call them, they just got married. Then I want to take this and open it up. Flip it out. Look. Lock. Can't move. Locked together. And line these up and do a stitch, a stay stitch to make sure that they stay lined up in place. You got that notch. You know that these are exactly at the center. Line them up along the top of the edge so that when you sew your sleeve on, it's not going to shift or move. Everything is going to stay locked in place. We didn't put any interfacing in this cuff because the fabric have a little stretch in it. Remember, like 5% lycra, and you want that just to stretch over your hand. Because on that image of that dress, the cuff didn't button or unbutton. Of course, you can do that to your cuff if you so desire. So let me get a picture of it so you can see it. Gorgeous, gorgeous dress. Okay, so now I would take my cuff and I went and I pressed it, and then there's my notch. So again, I'll put a pin there. Remind me that's my center. Now I need this seam to line up with this seam. Now how I did this, I used an upholstery thread. And I did a small zigzag stitch over it. If you go to the video and it says how to make the the fastest, easiest, simplest tutu ever. Some kind of name like that. You'll see exactly how I did this. All I did was took upholstery thread, a long stitch, and a narrow zigzag, and zigzag it over the whole thing. So once I take these two seams and line them up and match them up and pin these two together. We don't use a lot of pins on Sew Like a Pro, but sometimes you need some pins. Then if we take this seam, center seam, see that pin? I know that these two line up together. So we at least need to pin these together first. Then I could take the upholstery thread and pull it, because this is a lot to ease into this little cuff. But this is going to make that dynamic sleeve. So I'm going to just do one side at a time. And this fabric has a whole lot of body. This sleeve is going to drape, oh my goodness, and look so gorgeous. Now I slashed and spread mine 50 inches. And my hand is small, so you know this cuff is just not that big. So then I go and pull the other side. That's just half. So I really wouldn't drape, slash and spread more than this 50 inches, I think. Because the more you spread, the more difficult it's going to be for you to sew and get this cuff to fit. Unless you have some big hands. So we're going to take that, flip it out, because we really want to sew this together on the gathered side, which you see is going to be very difficult to do. This is a little challenging because I got to get that all pulled in there really, really tight. So I need to pin it a little more, huh? Once you get it in place. Let's see. Yes. So I'm going to take this and line it up. Give me another pin in there. Right there. And go and tighten up this other one. And pin it. Alright, and you're going to have to sew it from this side because it's impossible for me to get that in there. If you have one of those sewing machines, home sewing machines, that have that little free arm thing, hey, this is the place to use it. So I want to go in and line it up and stitch it at my 1/2 inch seam allowance. So be careful to pull all these down so that you catch all the seam allowances and not creating any other little puckers and things like that as you go along. Pull all the little seams down. Now I already went and stitched the shoulder seam together on my dress. And I already stitched together the side seam. So on my dress, I allowed a 1 inch seam allowance. You can allow whatever kind of seam allowance you want for your dress. Now it's going to be, I'm going to stitch this on twice. After I get it, I'm going to check it and make sure everything is good, and I'm going to go back and stitch it again because we need to serge this off to clean up this finish. So you make sure that the more you stitch it, it kind of compacts it, so that your serger will be able to clean up your seam for you. And if your serger can't do it, don't kill your serger on this one dress. Put a seam binding or something around it to finish it off. So don't kill the machine, because this is really thick. Now the other dress fabric that this will probably look really good in is, it will look great with sleeve real full like this in a chiffon. You can do your dress out of this fabric and do your sleeve out of chiffon. The other fabric, a bridal satin, if you like satin, that would be a beautiful choice. The dress would be nice. A cotton sateen would be beautiful. I think some type of brocade, if you wanted a print, would be beautiful. But then you cannot do this fast. You have to take your time. I made it around. Flip this out so you can see on the right side what it looked like. Woo! Look at that. Is that gorgeous or what? So I will go back and stitch it again, and then I'm going to serge it, but I want to show you. I eased the cap of this in already. Like I said, I stitched the shoulder together already. I stitched the side seam together already. I pressed it open. After you stitch your shoulder and press it open, your side and press it open, you have to do a little clip right there so it'll lay flat when you turn it to the right side. So now I want to pin my sleeve and my underarm to my underarm, seams open. We want to pin those together. And my notch at my center of my cap of my sleeve to my shoulder. And we do have a video on how to sew binding. So I did make my bias tape. I cut it 1.5 inches wide, the width of my neck plus seam allowance. And it's on the true bias, and it's 1.5 inches wide. So after I find my notch and match up my shoulder seam, always start sewing at the underarm first. So I want to check and make sure it's going to ease in and everything is going to lay nice and flat. So I start at my underarm. Now you can eliminate your ease. You don't have to have ease in your sleeve. You can eliminate that. When I dropped it 1 inch, so the shoulder would have a little slope, you can go back and get rid of that 1 inch. With a little ease, it just helps it to drape even more, that's all. It's very feminine looking dress. So girls, when you want to look a little feminine, let it hug your hips a little bit, show off your little accents. You know, we are fashion. God fashion women, so sew it so it's eased in. We really don't want any puckers. We just want it eased in. And then after I checked it and made sure that it's correct, just like I want it, then I would stitch it again, and then I'll serge it off. Now I want to keep the ease that I do have, like right at my shoulder, at my cap, but be careful not to sew in any puckers. You see mine split a little bit there when I was stitching those two together. I didn't even notice it. So be careful, take your time and watch and make sure. Now after we get these together, I'll go back and stitch it again. After I get what I want, I always want to check my work and make sure it's coming out like what I want. And if it's good, if it's right, then I can stitch it again and ease it in. So that gives me just that little bit of ease in it, and that gives me that beautiful sleeve. Once it's on your arm, it'll sit up on your wrist, and it's going to give you that full blouson that drape that you want, and that's what makes this an ideal dress for anybody in any figure type. So draft your pattern. Not only can you draft this and make it for yourself, but you can do this for your friend also, for anybody. Anybody can wear this dress. Anybody can rock this dress. So now we're going to draft like a pro, and we're going to sew like a pro. And may God bless all of your sewing projects.